When life happens, plans need to change. Shaping Change, hosted by certified financial planner Ross Marino, is dedicated to helping financial advisors better serve their clients when life takes those unexpected turns.
Hi, Katie. How's it going today?
Ross, it is going super well. I am still fully energized from RLS last weekend.
So glad to have you out there. We had great feedback from the attendees to your sessions, as in plural. You had a couple of really awesome sessions. How about if you take one takeaway from each session on what the advisors got out of it, or maybe some conversations that you really dove into the weeds because people had a lot of questions?
Yeah, so the first session was a panel with Susan Bradley and Hannah Moore, and we were really talking about the future of financial planning. What are some of those gaps we have between where we're at now, where we really need to go? And Ross, one of the biggest conversations that we kept kind of coming back to and having audience participation around is how can we help more people? Are we moving to a one-to-many model? Is it bringing in younger advisors? Is it the monthly retainer model? All sorts of discussions, but I loved the passion around everybody saying we need to find ways to help more people.
Yeah, and that's a big difference. And that session itself, I remember coming in there and right before it, Susan said, "Are you bringing in more chairs?" And I didn't quite understand that we needed way more chairs. It was still standing room only, even though we brought in the chairs. But obviously a great panel because it's a topic that we want to talk about continually. I want to hear what other people think is the future of financial planning. Where are we going with all this? And one to many, there's many ways you could do that. 20 years ago, we may have done it with dinners. Today, we're doing it the way we do it. We're doing it with video, with YouTube, and that was your other session. So how did that go?
It was great, Ross. I love talking with advisors about how to easily and authentically leverage video in their business. And those are the two big takeaways there. Like, you make it easy, start with what you've got and be authentic. Advisors have, so much propensity for making things more complicated than they need to be. It's our, analysis aspect of our mind and looking at everything and having everything be perfect. But Ross, a huge part of your conference was about the human side, and being authentic is being human. That's so much more relatable to send a casual video, even if you're out in the park with your kids in the background, sending a quick 30-second video to a prospect you're going to meet with later that week. That allows people to get to know you and helps change the public perception of what financial advisors and financial planners do and even who they are.
Those are great points. Now, I know you went to some of the sessions, you had a lot of conversations. I think every time I saw you, you were engaged with somebody and you were shooting videos. I know it was profitable for you. You told me you really had a good time there. So can you mention anything that you thought was really valuable to you?
To me, it was the diversity of the topics and the people there. I loved that. I mean, it was called the Retirement and Longevity Summit. So in all honesty, if you asked me, what is my initial impression of what that would be like? This was, that and more. It was conversations around aging and longevity and really personal stuff that advisors need to be thinking about, but so much about the human side. So Ross, you brought it all. It was incredible.
Thanks. We enjoyed putting the agenda together. We really just try to put topics that I know I run into on a daily basis as a financial planner. And I have my own practice, of course, but it's not going to be that different than anybody else, because if I'm dealing with people who are 60, 70, and 80, it's going to be similar to anybody else that deals with 60, 70, and 80. And the human side, that's where I think we lack the most amount of knowledge and application. I crave it. A lot of it, other advisors crave it. Hopefully we deliver that this time.
Oh, you hands down delivered it. And that was a lot of the conversations I was having with other people is helping to continually shift that mindset. And the other thing I'll say that's so great about conferences is that it kind of forces us to stretch our thinking. It's so easy to get into the nitty gritty of day in and day out. And this is what we do. And, like you said, those hallway conversations and the diversity of topics, that allows us to kind of take a step back and go, oh, we do need to continually innovate and evolve and be there to better help more people.
It was great. Appreciate you coming out, sharing, speaking, and adding value to everybody there. Thanks, Katie.
Thanks, Ross.
Hello, Mike. How you doing today?
Oh, wonderful, Ross. Great to see you.
Your session was really popular at the conference. It was Level Up by gaining expertise. And I know you have a lot of data. The Institute has a lot of data, a lot of research. How about if we start with one of the research-driven facts where you're able to connect the data between accumulation and decumulation and offer some insight into that?
Oh, Ross, thanks for leading with that. When we do our research, it's not what you would pull out of a spreadsheet or do market research for data. What we're looking at is real investors working with real advisors, right? What are the dynamics there? And as you transition from accumulation to decumulation, what are those data that's helping to drive us from advisors to help do a better job and have a greater impact? And the biggest thing that we see is surprisingly, the number one and top stressor for folks in retirement isn't a portfolio, it's healthcare, right? It's long-term care. And as we go through these phases of life, where more and more of us are providing care for those folks in our family, whether it's a parent, it's an aunt, an uncle, it's a child, right? Seeing that data driven, that financial planners and investment advisors need to do a better job of connecting those risks and that data that folks are telling us, that as we go through accumulation and get into decumulation, what investors, what your clients are really most concerned about. That drives the plan, that drives the focus, that drives hopefully better outcomes for those that we serve.
So if we're just focused on the financial side, when we hear the most common questions, which is, am I going to be okay? Will I have enough money, right? Will I have enough income? Will I run out of money? Those are valid questions. Those are the financial questions. But what you're saying is, based on your data, it's not necessarily income to support my lifestyle, which I think we instinctively think that's what they're talking about. You're saying it's more connected towards long-term health care and being able to take care of themselves or family members. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what we're hearing from clients, right? This is what they're telling us when we survey, when we ask. And these are folks, to give you an idea, one of our surveys was working with folks with $500,000 or more that are involved in financial decisions and also work with an advisor, right? So that thinking of that marketplace of folks who we're talking with, they're telling us, yeah, we want to make sure that we're taken care of on the health side, and that those in our circle, that we can afford to take care of those, right? Whether that's, aging parents or part of our network of friends and family, being able to provide those things. We've worked with clients before that said, you know what, long-term care is not an issue for me today because I'm 52, but my parents are 75. And right, I want to be able to schedule out in my financial plan, right, helping them fund some of their long-term care needs, right? So that may be, we've worked with clients that said, let me take the burden of funding some of this care and put it in my financial plan. I don't think most financial planners that we've worked with have been sensitive enough when they're building that financial planning projection to add a column right there that says providing healthcare for my parents, or funding that, or funding the approach of how can I be there for my family and have that as a real expense, and build that into the financial plan. Because I'll tell you, I've had a lot of clients, and we work with advisors that have had clients that have canceled plenty of vacations to take care of family, right? So when we think of lifestyle, that's the fun trip overseas, or the fun trip to a national park, or taking a sabbatical for 3 or 4 weeks that will get trumped because we want to make sure to take care of our family first.
Now, when you talk about retirement risks, we often think first, if it's financial, running out of money, inflation, sequence of returns, when I retire, as opposed to how long I'm retired, the timing of the retirement date. But in your session, you went into mindset. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, this is such a big one, such a big one. As we work with so many advisors through that shifting of the accumulation mindset, the growth mindset, those working years, right? I listened to one of the sessions where Roger Whitney mentioned, when you retire, you lose your superpower, right? That, which is your earnings power, right? Of working and making money. And it does feel like that. So that retirement shift, and for advisors consistently tell us that, taking a client from working and growing their wealth to switching over to starting to spend and decumulate, right? Take withdrawals. Suddenly the issues are very different. And what we see, the things that work over time in accumulation, right? Diversification, asset allocation, rebalancing, that you could apply right to a huge group of folks and say, you're a moderate, you're conservative, I'll see you in 30 years. In retirement don't work, right? Because the risks are so unique. So you go from a world of easily diversifying away the idiosyncratic risk or the unique risk to a world in retirement planning where those individual risks are very personal and drive everything in the financial plan. Like we talked about just a minute ago about healthcare, right? Some folks have a very low sensitivity to that, right? So that retirement mind risk, they might have a very low sensitivity because of their family health, because of what their concerns are. Other folks, if you don't put that in their plan and you don't solve that as part of their financial planning and the projections, none of the other pieces are going to line up, right? They're not going to feel good about the plan. They're not going to feel good about the portfolio. They're not going to feel good about the insurance or the other products that you put in place if you're not solving that thing, right? And I worked with a great group years ago that said, ask the question, what would it mean to get this right? And when you ask that in retirement, in that retirement mindset, you'll get a very different answer. And sometimes that'll help you lead, or advisors lead, to a much better outcome for clients.
How about a takeaway that you had personally? I know you were in some of the sessions. Obviously, you were engaged, lots of conversations. What did you get out of the conference?
Well, this was an interesting one. And I think, Ross, when you did your opening comments where you talked about bridging the human right side to the technical side, I really appreciated how the sessions did that. And in one of the sessions that we opened up with Liz O'Donnell, where she shared her story about being a caregiver and about how that changed the whole projection of her life, right? The being able to be there for her parents, which was a priority, right? How that impacted her work, how that impacted her career, how that changed the lives for her children, right? And her husband, and how their life kind of unfolded. Such an important story, I think, for advisors to hear, to take that focus when we're building those plans, when we're asking those questions. I know we've been saying, we've been coached to do this and been hearing this for decades, but asking more questions, listening more, being active listeners. I think I got a lot out of the reminders of that over the conference, and hearing that story from Liz, and just the opportunity that advisors today to have to bring value above and way beyond what a spreadsheet can do, or what some artificial intelligence plugged into an algorithm can do. So that was very exciting. I was very intrigued about the sessions that were put together, and inspired about the world of our industry, the impact that we're going to have in 2022 and beyond.
Yeah, that was a great session. Liz was a guest of Transamerica, and they hosted an interview with her. And I'm not sure if I've ever received more positive feedback from a general session than that session with Liz O'Donnell and Transamerica. It was so good, so impactful, and it just resonated with so many people. The number of people that came up to me and just kind of grabbed me off to the side and said, hey, I'm living this. I'm in this. I get this. I know what's going on. Some of them were 35, 45 years old. Other ones are a little bit older. Everybody hits it at some point in time. So appreciate you mentioning that. That was definitely a powerful session, and look forward to seeing you next year. Thanks, Mike.
Awesome. Thank you, Ross.
Thank you for listening to Shaping Change with Ross Marino. This show is for general information purposes only and is not intended to provide recommendations or advice. Speak with a legal, tax, or financial advisor before making any decisions. Past performance references are historical and do not guarantee future results. Visit rlsummit.com to learn more.